everyone. Welcome to another emergency edition of ARG Presents. I'm your good buddy, your good pal, and global traveler, Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who keeps his feet firmly on terra firma, keeps his hiney in the seat. He's a human paperweight, ladies and gentlemen. I present to you the BRENT.
I mean, I'm a world traveler, too.
When did you travel the world?
I traveled from my house over here.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, if you're going to consider you to Chicago world travel, I'm going to consider that world
Oh, yeah,
travel.
I do. It was Cocoa Fest this past weekend, folks, so we're getting this thing in just under the wire. But by God, there's no way I'd be absent for this one, the BRENT, because we spun the wheel. We made the wacky deal this week, as we'll be looking at something we ain't never heard of before. Bam! It's everyone's favorite, the Philips VG5000.
5,000, Aaron.
With a micro sign beside the 5,000. I don't know what that is. I don't know what the heck that's doing there. There's a little symbol there. It's the Philips VG5000.
Yes.
Now, we spun this last week. Have you ever in your whole life heard of the Philips VG5000?
Yeah, I used one of these when I was a kid.
You did?
No.
That's what.
Of course not.
Unless you were in the Netherlands or France, that's highly argued. Let's learn a little bit, Brent, if we may. Let's learn a little bit about
that was the point of these.
VG5000. What was it? So, if you're like us, we didn't know. By the way, the VG5000, also known as the Radiola VG5000, that's my favorite, or the Schneider VG5000. So as long as there's a 5,000 there, you can put any goofy name you want in front. Manufactured by Philips. Where was this manufactured, the Brent? Well, you're going to be stunned to know it was the Netherlands.
I'm not that stunned.
But this thing only had its bigger run in France.
Yeah, that's where, regardless of where it was made, that's where it was marketed.
I should have worn my beret for this episode. Remember the beret I have? Because we love the French. Excuse me, this thing debuted, well, it started being produced in '83. It was released in France, according to everything I saw, October 1 of 1984. So a late 1984 release, the Brent.
Just in time for Christmas.
So get this. What's in this thing? What's in everything? It's the old Zilog Z80 processor with a 4 megahertz speed. This thing could have up to 56K, but it shipped with 24K, 8K of VRAM, and an 18K ROM. Now, it's a 40-column text mode, but get this. 8 colors, 1 voice, 4 octave sound. You know it's gold. Here's the amusing thing. It had no graphics. It had the semi-graphics as its graphics display, but they did a lot with what they had to...
An amazing amount.
What they had to operate with.
An amazing amount.
This thing originally sold in France as of December '84 for 242 francs. Not euros, francs. And then by '86, just at the scanty less than 2 years later, the price had literally cut in half to 120 francs.
Well, I think at that point it was less, look at our new shiny system, and more, we need the warehouse space.
Well, you're killing this thing. You're kidding. Look, 1 voice, 4 octave, but it had some sound.
Hey, well, we'll get into it. That was the best part of it.
This thing, from what I read,
actually, I enjoyed my time.
This thing was aimed at schools. This was the number one thing for schools.
Well, they wanted it to be the number one thing for school. Right. Unfortunately, it was about 13th on the list.
So they had peripherals planned, and they apparently released some peripherals, including a joystick, expansion unit, a extra memory, as we mentioned, and a printer. So that's not too bad. So they had some stuff. You got to have that stuff if you're going to go to a school. This thing was manufactured in Le Mans by Radio Technique. That's RTS, which explains where that comes from. I've seen that before and always wondered what that meant, so now we know. So if you're looking at the VG5000, you may be thinking to yourself, so what else does this thing work on? It's Philips. They had other stuff. Well, guess what? Nothing is the answer. It had a Microsoft Basic derivative, which is called VG5000 Basic.
Which that's a nice way of saying this Basic works on our machine and nothing else.
The semi-graphic symbol display could basically was a 320 by 250 with 8 colors.
Yep.
And there were about 40 games available for the system. Now, according to sources, there were 300,000 units sold in 84 with 500,000 predicted for 85. Your mileage may vary on how many of these were actually shipped. Although this appears to be, I wouldn't call this a rare thing. Like you can't find them anywhere. You can find them.
No, yeah.
And they're not even that expensive, but they're not, it's not the hugest system you could find. Get this. This surprised me because when we're looking for ways to play this thing has an active community that does homebrew. I didn't play the homebrew. I don't know if you did.
I looked over some stuff, but I didn't play it.
But there are emulators for it. We use the Windows emulator, but there's a Raspberry Pi emulator, a Linux emulator, a Wii emulator, and of course, Brent, a GP2X emulator. Now, so we've talked about the computer. I want to talk a little bit about the Philips brand of what you would expect from them. So, we had a Magnavox Odyssey 2.
Yes.
And overseas, it was a video pack.
Yes.
This, and of course, Philips produced it overseas. And so this actually is like the sister of the video pack machine. So there are games.
Ugly sister.
There are games basically that actually are on both machines. I found a great webpage, if you speak French, that has a list here. I thought we'd go over a couple of these and see what we've had. So, okay, number one. There was a machine we didn't get in the States, Brent. I'd like to have had this thing called the Video Pack Plus. This was effectively the Odyssey 3 that we'd always heard about.
Right.
It didn't get released here, but it did get released in Europe. And so there's a couple games that actually work. Again, keep in mind these aren't compatible.
No.
But they made games for both systems.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted to go over. So you've got Le Full Volant, which is air battle. That got on both. You also got, now this is a great one. Me and Brent were both big fans of Casey Munchkin, right?
Yes.
So on the video pack over in Europe, they had Casey Munchkin. They made a version of Casey Munchkin for the BG5000 called Glutton.
Yep.
Which I think is pretty good. It looked pretty similar. I wonder if there were some similarities between the two. I don't know. I mean, because I don't know how there would be any. But I mean, they're not compatible. We'll talk about Helicopter Rescue later. Here's Le Monster or Space Monster. We had this game, Brent.
Yep. Well, for the Odyssey.
We had this for the Odyssey too. It was an Invaders clone. Turtles, which is called Turtles in France. Looks good. And there's another Video Pack Plus game, Trans American Rally. This looks pretty good too, actually, the brand.
Now scroll up there for a second, Aaron.
Yeah.
Do you think it's odd that a machine released in France got a title of U.S. Rally?
Trans-American Rally. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. U.S. Rally for the BG5000. I do think it's odd. It's also odd that they picked two different cars and everything's different on the box as we look at it here. But I will say, we were looking at a map on the screen here of America. There's Chicago, Denver, and L.A. That's it.
Well, more fills in as you go across the country.
If they put New York in here, this would be the exact way that everyone in America looks at America. You also had Norseman. This is a Video Pack Plus, and it was Viking on a BG5000. These look pretty interesting. And then lastly, Backgammon on here as well. Backgammon you can put on anything. Oh, I'm sorry. We also had Terrahawks, which we didn't even get in the States. This is the Terrahawks Plus. Kind of cool. So there were a lot of similarities there between the two in terms of releases. And of course, you can be sure that Philips was the ones releasing these because they were the ones that had both machines.
Yeah. Now,
I'm assuming... Well, Philips didn't do too good with the Video Pack Plus because they never even came over here. I'm guessing that I always heard it got limited release. And this died horribly. The BG5000 was here and gone in an instant.
And I actually think that's unfortunate. This little machine has a lot going for it. It's got a lot going against it too, don't get me wrong. But inside of the VG5000, all their chips are socketed. The chips that would go in sockets.
Yeah.
They all are, they're not just hard soldered to the board. They all actually have sockets that they go
at least
to.
On the now I've seen several different types of this machine. Obviously we mentioned several other names.
Yes.
So this is exclusive. We're talking about the Philips version.
Yes.
We can't say that for the other ones. It's got it's got the chiclet keyboard though. That's no good. The keyboard's kind of goofy looking. It is what it is. But you're right. They did put socket the chips. That is a nice addition.
Also, inside of this thing it's simple. I watched a guy change the caps in his system.
Yeah.
The board, it's got a few screws. It's very few screws to take apart.
Good, my kind
And
of
then
box.
it's just got the board's held up by clips. The keyboard is very simple. It is ribbon cable to in and out. So if this was in a school setting,
Yeah.
and you needed to do maintenance on it, let's say some kid spilled his Coke on his keyboard, right? It's a 15-minute fix.
Yeah.
To pop it out and put in a new keyboard. I think they manufactured this thing with that in mind. Now the power supply on this it's not in the machine.
Yeah, it's external.
And it's the size of a small child.
Yeah,
It is literally as large as the computer.
It's not literally that size, but it's pretty big. The Odyssey 2 one was pretty large too.
No, this thing is like 3 Odyssey 2 power supplies.
Yeah, some of those old consoles, they had huge power supplies.
It was huge.
One
This
would
thing was
wonder how
huge.
much power this needs. I mean, it couldn't even need that much. It's got the god-awful chiclet keyboard, though, which is still a step up from Philips' previous efforts with the Odyssey 2, which had the horrible touch-sensitive keyboard. Which were,
the membrane.
Those are god-awful. So, yeah.
But I think this thing had a lot going for it. It loads off tape.
Yeah.
That's its primary
And I didn't see a disk drive listed amongst the things they released.
I don't think
they ever got around to that. Tapes are pretty prominent over there, though.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how fast it loads off a tape. I would imagine it is. Oh, well, that's the speed of the tape.
Emulator
obviously.
loads quick.
But tape, not a good way to do that kind of thing, especially in a school setting. If you're a teacher, you're trying to get all these things to load up something on tape. Good luck, sucker.
I wonder why they didn't put a cartridge slot on it.
Basic boots up.
Yeah.
And that's the default.
Yeah.
So if you were just going to do
what else you gonna do?
Little programming stuff, you could load BASIC off a tape. Are you kidding me?
Right, but I mean, they've got a big ROM in there. You got to have BASIC on there. My God.
But I think this thing, I think it's a sleek little unit. I do.
The keyboard blows.
It's got a SCART video.
Yeah.
It has your ports for your joystick and stuff ready to go. I think this was a neat little unit. I understand the hate. I understand why it didn't do well, because it was very underpowered.
I don't think people really hate it. I just think they don't know about it or don't care.
That's very possible.
Like, I don't think they hate it. I just think they're like, what the heck's that? I don't even know.
Also, it has a limited keyboard. It does not have a full keyboard, and it's a French-style keyboard, at least on the Philips version. But it still has, your basic functionality. I think this would have been a perfect classroom computer. A perfect classroom computer.
I don't think so.
I do.
I don't think so. And I'll tell you, but I will say, as far as I can tell, just to close this out, this was only released, it's only available in the Netherlands and France. As far as I can tell, it was never released anywhere else because it died a death there. So, with all that said, it was our duty to get into this 40-plus game library, pick a couple winners, or at least attempt to. I didn't get to play, I was busy week at Kokomo, so I didn't get to play a whole lot of these games. I tried a couple, but I think you dipped your toe in a bunch of different pools, although you pulled your game out before any dipping was done. Tell the people what you chose to play this week.
Well, we are reviewing an education-based computer, right? This thing was made to be learned on.
You mean edutainment?
That's right. Oh, boy. Let me tell you something. They caned me up real good.
You asked for this one.
With Monkey Academy. Now, here, Monkey Academy,
come on.
That's offensive to monkeys, really.
What?
It will be a joy to talk about this little gem if I was playing it on the MSX or the ColecoVision, which it also came out for.
Yeah.
It actually this game released on the ColecoVision first. Two full years later, it got a VG5000 release. So that's, in my opinion, that's kind of odd. I think they were looking for education software to put on this thing, and this was just, it was there for the grabbing. Who produced this for the VG5000? I don't know. Who developed this? You've got
Yep.
No, that's not right.
That's what I found out. Konami.
No.
Konami Industry Limited.
It was
Also, their name is in it when you boot it up. It's in there. Konami produced it. Deal with it. Live with it.
I don't think that is true.
That is true.
Also, this is the most deceiving box art I've ever seen.
Yes.
Because in the middle, in big shiny spot, you've got Monkey Academy, and the monkey is carrying a number 2, and the number 2 is dead center on the case.
Yeah.
Vertical and horizontal. So anyone looking at this would be like, oh, they made a sequel to Monkey Academy.
Yeah.
No, they did not.
Maybe that was since it was so late coming out. Maybe that was part of the plan. They're trying to trick you.
So this was the original Monkey Academy. There is no Monkey Academy 2, at least that I'm aware of.
No, I'm not after this one. It's not.
This is a game. It's an edutainment platformer if I've ever seen one.
You get that right.
It is. Well, let me give you the setup. You can play this 1 or 2 players, right?
Good luck finding a buddy for this one.
And you can play this with 5 different mathematical options. You can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and I think special just to this, at least according to the FAQ I read, that's right. This has an FAQ that was released in 2003.
For this version?
For this version of the game.
Oh, man.
So
That's baffling.
it was a read. And I mean a full one. I don't mean like, oh, this was released. It was like literally, I scrolled down for probably 7 or 8 pages. They have all the screens mapped out in every way.
Yeah.
Anyway, it has parentheses. So orders, when you have to do your mathematical orders, if it has like 6 plus or 6 times, open parentheses, 5 plus 2. You have to know that you have to add those first before you do your multiplication. But what you are supposed to do in this game is it gives you a mathematical formula at the top. And one of the numbers in this mathematical formula is missing. So you have to traverse a 3-layer board, and you will find little, like, if you ever played Guess Who, the little flip things for the Guess Who game, that's kind of like this is.
Nope.
It's a little flip down thing that you have to bump with your head, and it will reveal what number is there.
See, that's not the way I saw it at all. I thought they were like, like you have a shade over your window. The monkey jumps up and he pulls the shade down, and it has the number on it. That's the way, in my mind, that's what it looked like.
I disagree.
Also, that makes more sense because he's pulling down the shade that has the number on it. It's like like when you're in class, they pull down the thing that has the map on it. It's the same thing.
Anyway, once you find the number that fills in the equation, you hit the enter key, bam, you lock that number in.
Yeah.
Then the challenge really begins.
That would explain why I had so much trouble with that.
You have to navigate up the 3 platforms to get to your buddy monkey that is setting up at the top with the equation.
Yeah.
And you basically hand that number off, and he runs over and fills in the rest of the equation for you.
That's cute.
The math on this is, it's not challenging as an adult, but if I got this kind of math problem when I was like 6, my mind would have been blown. There's no way I would have been able to figure this crap out.
6? You're no math genius now.
No, I think I am. I'm not a genius, but I'm decent at math.
That's a monkey level thinking right there.
So you have to get the number up to the top, but the challenge is the platform of this is the dirt worst.
Yeah, I need help.
Holy cow.
I need help understanding how to make the jump to the next level, please.
Your monkey, first of all, he's got a heck of a vertical. And if you just hold up on your controller and hit jump, he will jump straight up.
Yeah.
And that is how you kind of pull down the numbers, or we'll get into the enemies here in a second. And you jump left or right at this, like, shallow 40-degree angle.
Yeah.
And it is, if you hit anything during this jump, you just fall back down.
Yeah.
Now, falling doesn't hurt you, but that's when the evil crab comes. The evil crab is forever menacing all of the floors of this level.
Yeah.
Whenever he spawns, he'll spawn in a location, fall down the holes that are available on each platform level, and he won't seek you out per se, but he will always walk back and forth, and it gets real annoying.
They're not unlike the crabs in Mario Bros.
Well,
I mean, they're not, and that's what the Mario Bros would do.
you're right. So how do you defend yourself as a monkey? Well, of course, you throw fruit at them.
Or poo.
No, fruit.
I'm sorry.
Only fruit. Along hanging with the numbers are fruit that you can grab off of the bottom of the ledges and hurl at this crab. And if you hit him, you get points, and you can get him out of your way. And if you kill him, he just comes back eventually. So the challenge of this game, the math problems, especially some of the division crap, even some of the multiplication crap, is hard because you might have all of the first number times all the second number equals a number with a number missing in the middle of your number. So it's always one number. So it might be 27 times 14 equals 6x3. And you're like, what the heck? I don't know. And you have to avoid the crab while you're trying to figure out the math problem. Then you have to find the number. Then you have to get to the top.
And there's a timer.
That is correct. If you're able to do this 3 times, you have completed your lesson, and it gives you a score, and you can go about your merry old way.
And that's how they passed or failed you in France. That right there. You failed Monkey Academy. Go back to Dullard School.
Now, if you jump up and you hit a number and you lock in the wrong number, it doesn't just kill you, you just get an X.
It doesn't just kill you.
And if you get 3 X's, then your monkey dies. And you get 3 lives.
That is horrible for school.
Listen.
Even if you don't have the math right, your monkey dies.
And if he does a violent death.
He does.
He just keels over.
Yeah, he gets stiff.
Boom.
Yeah. This monkey dies a lot too, because the crabs they like the taste of monkey flesh.
On the other versions, the platforming, which is by far the worst part of this game, the platforming isn't nearly as broken, and I can see this actually being fun as a child. I mean, in this version, which is what I played, obviously, the platforming is challenging.
Yeah.
It's beyond challenging.
Can you explain?
It's frustrating.
Can you explain to me how to make the leap up to the next level?
Yes.
Okay, please do.
Okay. If you are jumping to the left, you have to start at the very right of the hole.
Okay.
So
you have to get a run at it?
Yes, basically.
But he doesn't speed up. In fact, he runs like a geek.
But when you jump, you will float a decent distance.
So it's all about the angle is what you're saying.
Yes.
Because the only times I could ever advance were the luckiest luck that ever lucked.
Yeah, I actually got pretty good at this.
Yeah.
I did play it long enough to figure out the tricks.
If anyone could graduate from Monkey Academy, it's you.
The music in this is really good.
No. Dude, it's beeper music.
Listen, it is good for beep music.
Well, there is no good beep music. Who are you kidding?
I enjoyed the music.
It took
in
full
Monkey
advantage of the
Academy.
one voice channel. It was in full throat.
This is not going to win any awards for music.
Yeah, well, worst music goes to Monkey Academy.
I feel they did very well with the limitations they had. The graphics in this game are off the charts. Based on
the fact that there are no graphics on this machine.
Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Based on that, what they had to work with. A monkey looks like a monkey. A banana looks like a banana. The crabs look like crabs.
Yeah.
I never once was like, oh, what's that? So it is fantastic in the graphics department. It's just the mechanics were really bad, and that's unfortunate because this could have been a lot of fun back in the day, as a child. What was your opinion on this game? I can see you're hating on it.
But listen, the game's called Monkey Academy.
Yeah.
So it's hard to hate on it because the name is Monkey Academy. And in my mind, I thought to myself, oh man, this is going to be awesome. Monkeys jumping around. I didn't know it was an edutainment game. I didn't know that until I started playing it. I knew it was in trouble because when we got the tips on how to load these ROMs, someone said, yeah, the ROM for Monkey Academy is in the apps section. I was like, uh-oh. I was like, that ain't good.
That was a little bad.
And then here it came. I saw a bunch of math coming at me. I'm like, oh, no.
And if you were in Texas, right, and you had the choice between playing
I'd head over the
foosball,
border.
if you had the choice between playing foosball or this, what would you play?
I'd hook up with Texas foosball or play foosball. He just came in, too. That's where you saw foosball. I didn't even pull out of your butt. Anyway, getting back to my review.
It was the subtle way of showing that we were live,
Yeah.
Aaron.
Anyway,
since he asked.
Getting back to the review.
Aaron, subtle like a train wreck.
Like, this game, it is a game of its era. You're right. Graphically, the crabs look crabby. The monkeys look sort of like monkeys. Fruit looks
They
about
look
right.
great. Like, oh my gosh, it looks great.
Hold on a second. Mathematically, it's okay.
It was challenging.
You really have to. The challenge is not really the math. It's like doing everything else and not dying and the math.
Yes.
The controls are the movement stinks.
Yes.
That's the Achilles heel of this.
Yes, the platforming.
I mean, yeah, the sound is crap, but you knew that was going to be. Even the jumping the crabs, I mean, you could do it.
No, you can't.
You can jump over them.
You cannot. I mean,
I did it. I jumped over them, but it's not easy. You can. But the problem is the monkey moves and jumps crappily.
Yeah.
And so that makes the game not that much fun. I looked at what did I ask you? On the right-hand side of the screen, there's a clock over the time.
Yeah.
And then what are the other symbols? What is that? Is that a joystick over the score?
I believe that is a trophy for the high score.
That's not what that is it?
I'm pretty sure that's what that is. And then your score is...
That's a trophy? It looks like I don't know what it looks like. An inkwell and a pen.
Pretty sure that's the
What's
current...
the thing over your current score? Is that a monkey?
It's a little monkey.
Okay. It's just kind of blobby.
And then the monkeys that represent how many lives you have left are terrifically done. Holy cow.
Well, I mean, this game is the embodiment of low-hanging fruit, literally. I got a million of them.
I really enjoyed my time with Monkey Academy.
Well, I'm glad you did.
It was fun to try to figure out the jumping mechanics. This is not a good game, okay? It's not a good game. It's not. It's edutainment at its best.
Yeah,
I will say that. But the jumping is so bad that you can't have fun unless you like figuring out the mechanics to make the jumping more interesting.
You're not going to believe this, Brent, but someone played this game.
Yeah.
In a baffling turn of events. And by the way, that person was Pajako 6502, who also was instrumental in making this much easier than it should have been.
Yeah.
By setting us up with the emulator, the ROMs, and telling us exactly how to play it, including the fact that the Q and A are backwards on the keyboard.
Yeah, because of the French keyboard.
Pajako writes, the ColecoVision or MSX versions are quite fun and very playable, and really, this is an arcade platformer disguised as a learning aid.
I agree.
But I love the thought of some kids getting around the no games rule by having a game that teaches them math, in quotes. The VG5000 is not a high-spec machine, so naturally some things will get cut, and you can forgive having to render a more simple version of the game. But for me, this game is rendered virtually unplayable by its horrendous jumping between platforms.
It is really bad.
In fact, any kind of jumping is just a chore. Even over the crabs is almost impossible.
It is.
Also, I noticed that the fruit numbers in the game can block jumps between platforms.
It can.
Make the game even more painful to play. If this was your first exposure to Monkey Academy, you could easily be put off of the game for life and probably never even look at the MSX or ColecoVision version, which would be a shame because it's a very good game. On the plus side, the VG5000 does have some nicely drawn sprites. The music is serviceable.
And they're not
And you can at least throw some fruit at the crabs for points. But to play this properly and have fun, stick to the MSX or ColecoVision versions, but avoid the VG5000 like the plague. 2 out of 10. That's what we call an old-fashioned monkey burial right there.
To be fair, this was very hated online. Which is really, it's one of the reasons why I picked it.
It was?
Yeah.
Why would you pick something you knew was garbage?
I didn't know it was garbage. I just was wondering why it was so hated, and I found out.
Now you know why. It stinks.
No, it doesn't stink.
I don't suppose are any of these things available for sale? Did you know?
Oh, yeah, there's tons. Not this game, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there are tons of VG5000 tapes out there.
To be fair, this isn't a game.
And they run from about $20 to about $50.
If ever you thought to yourself, hey, I think I might go buy that and just emulate it first, is what I meant in this particular game. Under no circumstances would I go out and buy the machine. But I mean, we've played much worse.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But this one's not that good. So, Brent played the rest. Now I'll play the best, my friends. Because you know me, you know how I operate. I thought to myself, what's the most coolest, whoopin' buddiest version of a cool game I could find? That's right, whoop buddiest. And the game I chose was BAM! Helicoptere! That's right, spelled French style. Helicoptere. Helicoptere.
Yeah, it's Helicoptere.
Oh, would you stop? I'm trying to service our good buddies in the Big F. Released in 1983 on the Video Pack Plus. This is one of those games that was called Helicopter Rescue. The Philips VG5000 version was released 1 year later. So this one came off the heels of the Video Pack Plus. By the way, we got to put Video Pack Plus on a wheel. We got to put that on there. So somebody recommend that. This was published by Philips Export BV. I could not find a developer for this, but I think it was also developed by Philips.
Probably.
But I had no way to ascertain that one way or the other. Now, before I get into this, and I'm going to put Brent over despite his horrible game. So we looked around. One thing we like to do is get online, get some game footage, pull it down, put it on the thing, and make sure everybody knows what's going on. Well, the video game footage of the VG5000 is scanty. I mean, it's tiny bits. So we actually both recorded video footage, and Brent set me up real good. And so I felt like a chump, so I also recorded some video footage, too, for my game. Because the video footage I found was so scanty and rare, it never even showed anything. You never hardly saw any of the game. So you may be seeing this game for the first time. So, what is Helicoptere or Helicopter Rescue? Simple.
Yes, it is.
You have to rescue downed pilots or comrades with your helicopter. Right? Sounds simple, right? Wrong. That's because while you're scrolling through and picking up your partners, your friends, you'll be accosted by various bad guys. And this isn't one of those games where they just stick you out in one scenario, like say MASH. This one has two scenarios.
It does.
One is like a rocky crevasse or canyon, and one is the ocean.
Yeah.
Not good, or a lake, big river,
No,
something.
it's definitely an ocean. It has submarines and battleships.
That's true. It's about a point. Listen, the Great Lakes, you could put a battleship in there.
You could.
If we went to war with Canada. So the first thing that happens when this game comes up is you see a helicopter hone into view and he starts firing right at you. If only it was playing the Airwolf theme. Remember that?
It's beep and crap music.
It also says Jonnier avec le clavier or Jonniers avec un mate, which means play with keyboard or play with game controller. I choose to play with the keyboard. And here's a little tidbit for you. To fire on this game, you have to hit the minus sign. And you can use the arrow keys and the minus sign.
Not the minus sign on the numpad. The
actual minus sign.
Up by the backspace.
Right.
On
Once you've chosen, and as far as I can tell, these were your options. And then once you pick your options, you're treated with a really cool screen of a helicopter leaving like a base. I mean, the helicopter scales. It was real cool.
Well, it does. It 3-frame scales.
Listen, it scales.
Okay.
Then then you are in an action chopper gliding gracefully across the Atlantic, Pacific, whatever it is, as you rescue your downed pilots. Now, this game doesn't just have beautiful scenery. It's also got a handy bottom portion of the screen with a control panel that includes how far you are from the finish of the level, radar, how many choppers you've got left, how much gas you've got left, how many men you've picked up, and what your score is.
Yeah.
So you got this is one time where they actually use the bottom part of the screen for useful information.
Yeah.
And the radar on this thing is very wide radar. You can see pretty far with the radar. Your men are listed on your radar as little red dots, and ironically, when you pick them up, they're also little red dots.
Yes.
They don't actually look like men at all. They look like little red dots. Now, you move your chopper left and right, and then forward, and it's sort of like a from behind aspect, third person.
Mm-hmm.
When you push forward, when you push up on the keyboard, your chopper will go forward, faster. When you pull down, he'll come back at you to the point where it just slows down. And you can actually, it also lowers and raises your chopper. You can actually land your chopper in the water and die, which I did do that.
Oh, you can actually die?
Yeah, you could put it right in the drain.
Oh, wow,
yeah.
I never knew that.
Oh, yeah, so here's the way this goes. Like I mentioned, you're going to see radar, and you're going to have two things pop up on your radar. There are 2 or 3 things, but they're always dots. They're one of 2 things. It's either one of your downed friends, or it's an enemy craft, okay? It could be a sub. It could be
a battleship.
A ship. On the ocean level.
Yeah.
And as you go through the ocean, there are also little islands that go by. It's actually quite nice. This is graphically, this would have been a step up from like the Odyssey. I don't know if they could have done this on there. This is a pretty good thing. When you hit the buttons, you can have a twin cannon that fires. Here's the funny thing about the cannon, though. Like, the recharge of this thing is real weird. Like, you can't just go bananas on it.
You can't fire while hovering.
Yeah.
You have to be moving forward.
And so it makes it, the cannon's one you don't really want to fire it until you're pretty sure you got a good sight on somebody.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any limit on the ammo or anything. So as you go through, when you see one of your airmen, you pick him up, and by basically almost landing on him is effectively how you do it. He'll get in. And when he does that, a little man figure will appear at the upper left part of your display, like a little man figure. And your goal is to rescue as many guys as you can before one of 2 things happen. Either 1, you run out of fuel, or 2, the level just ends. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it shows in kilometers how far your trip is.
Right, but you can go, like, for example, when you get real close, like within like a kilometer. Even if there are guys like right in front of you, your guy just flies off.
Yeah.
They're screwed. You get nothing. Also, I want to note the fact that they could have put fuel or something in the bottom, but they actually put a little old school gas tank.
Yeah.
Like you'd fill up at the gas station, which I like. I like the fact that this high speed load drag helicopter fills into like a Sudoku to load up on gas. I thought that was funny. I found these ships to be difficult to shoot, but not impossible. And I found once you learn the way, because you sort of have to, you can't just go through this game warp factor 10. You have to go as fast as you want till you get the guy near the copter. And the funny thing is, when he's near you, you can't see him. Your copter will be over him because you're zoning into where he's at.
It blocks your view.
And then when you get where you think he's under you, you pull down, your copter lands effectively on him.
Hovers.
Presumably. Yeah. Well, I mean, you come as close, the guy's grabbing the bottom of the chopper, presumably, so then you take off. Sometimes the guys will be very near a ship, and then you've got to see how you want to play it. You can leave them. There's nothing that makes you get guys, but you want to get as many guys as you can. So once you get all the guys that you can get, or you run out of fuel. By the way, when you're out of fuel, your plane just crashes and you lose a man. When you get all the guys you can and the level's over, the chopper shoots off over the horizon, and then you are back at your base. Okay, this is a really cool scene. Now, when you come back to the base, you're not just you have to land. You don't. It doesn't. You're right. When you get there, you're just hovering over the base. Then you pull down. You land at the base, and then all the men you've rescued all get out of your chopper, sort of like Choplifter, which is cool. And also there's a tanker truck and a dude, which is funny because there's still the gas thing on your car, but you don't even use that because it's a tanker truck and a guy rolls up and he fills up your tank. So you're actually refueling at this point. Also, when you land, the guys get out, they sort of like salute you or wave at you, which I think's cool too. And you've dropped them off at the medical hospital. This is sort of like MASH. and then you take back off and zoom out. And then the next level, you're not over the ocean, you're over like this, like I said, we're in like a ravine or a cavern or something. It's the exact same premise, except there's no water this time. You've got like grass. And instead of ships, you've got howitzers and tanks.
Yep.
Okay, now, howitzers and tanks are I found much more difficult to shoot than the ships. The subs are like the howitzers, and the ships are like the tanks.
Yeah, there's small targets and large targets.
But I had no luck shooting things on this level. I could shoot stuff on the other level. And by the way, when you shoot an enemy tank or an enemy howitzer or an enemy ship or sub, if they blow up, you get a score, and then there's a little number in a box that appears over them. I don't know if that's
how much score you get.
I assume that's what it was, but I got no way of knowing. I should also mention, if you're careless, you can shoot the downed crewman.
Yeah.
And when you do that, a little cross appears. Whoops. Sorry, I killed that guy. You'll have to report to your CO to figure that one out. Once you go through this, and by the way, if you're watching this at home, there was no footage of this level at all on YouTube, and there's no footage of getting past this level either. Once you do this, the second level, the ravine, it's the same thing. You go back to your base, you drop off your guys, then you go back to the ocean and it loops. However, things have changed, because on the first level, none of the enemies shoot at you.
Yeah.
On the second level, I'm not sure the enemies, someone is shooting from somewhere. Because it doesn't necessarily come out of the ship that you see, but bullets start flying across the ocean. They're real tough to dodge.
They're fast.
Because you don't know where they're coming from. You have no point of reference of where they're being shot from. And so I ended up getting creamed often on this level because I couldn't see what was going on. I did get past this when I got back to the caves, but I ran out of guys. It's got a little tune that plays at the beginning. Like I said, the helicopter shoots, and when you die, there's a tune that effectively plays forever until
you hit the key.
And it's okay at first, but man, afterwards it's a killer diller. It's a fun game. I enjoyed it. What did you think, the BRENT?
This was a fun game.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, the first loop, I understand why it's there, to get used to everything.
Yeah.
But not having the enemies fire at you, it makes it that you're not playing a game, you're fulfilling a task.
It makes it fun to shoot them while they just sit there.
But in the second loop, the game becomes much more challenging. Now, you don't get just bombarded with shots. You get the enemy, just pretty much like you, gets one shot at you if you're moving forward. And it's usually in the middle, and which spreads out up to about a quarter of the screen on either direction.
Yeah.
The reason why that's important is in the canyon level, you can hit the side of the canyon.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to dodge and then a bullet's kind of coming at you and you dodge even more, you're going to hit the canyon wall and blow up. It's a simple game.
Yeah.
Okay. The graphics are passable. I actually think the graphics on Monkey Academy are better.
I think these are. But think about this. They're scaling. There's the islands floating by. They give you the illusion of going third-person perspective. I think that's pretty advanced graphics.
It is. I'm not saying they're bad. I just preferred Monkey Academy.
Monkey Academy. They can do that.
I think that being limited to 2 levels does hurt this a little bit, a 2-level loop. But they could have easily had 1 level. And been done with it. So I appreciate that they did put in a second. Having the guys salute when they get out of your helicopter, I thought was a nice touch. I thought this was pretty good. It's a little easy until the enemies start firing at you. I played through this, and it's a high score game, so it goes on forever. I eventually just quit.
So how do you remember how many times you looped it before you ultimately gave up?
3.
Does the third level, does anything change?
Not that I saw.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
The thing I did, though, is when I fired it up the second time, I played as evil BRENT. And I shot all my crewmen.
Yeah.
And on one level, on the first water level, I just hightailed it all the way through. I shot nothing, landed back at base. No one rescued. They fueled me up. I took back off, went to the canyon, and I just blew every sucker away that was there.
Why did that surprise me?
Got back to the base, land, they fueled me up. There is no penalty for shooting a guy or leaving someone behind. I think that needs, that's bad.
You know, I will say, having come from the Odyssey like we did, this is not unheard of. Because the Odyssey is like, I mean, the gauge is kind of open-ended in a weird way. Like, I mean, it was always a weird system. And that's why I wouldn't be surprised at all if Philips actually developed this one, because it feels like one of their games.
It does.
They put there's something there. Do what you want, and you know, you don't want to rescue them. Okay, whatever.
And when you shoot, you did shoot someone at some point?
Yeah, it gives you a little cross.
Well, it also goes.
Oh, you get a.
It makes a little yelly noise.
It makes a yuck noise when you do it. I thought the radar was good. I mean, listen.
Oh yeah, the radar's really good.
Again, I mentioned earlier that this game also came out on the Video Pack Plus.
Yes.
And I know I read about this because a lot of people, you're going to be stunned to hear this, but a lot of people get the two versions confused. But because no one knows about the VG5000. And so when you read a description of this, they're like, fly across deserts on a multicolored horizon. It's like, you know, it looks different. As we look at the still foot frames on the other game, it looks actually a lot more like an Activision Atari 2600 game than it does. This looks, the VG5000 has a distinctive ColecoVision feel to it to me. It actually feels more like a ColecoVision than it does an Odyssey 2 to me. The games I tried. Although there are some games that were straight from the Odyssey 2 on it.
Yes, color palette and feel. Yeah,
but it's a good feel. I really did it. I mean, is this the game you're gonna quit modern gaming for? Absolutely not.
No.
But as a fun diversion on an obscure system, I enjoyed it.
And it's easy.
Yeah. It's easy. You can get right into it. I will say, loading up games, this was a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Finding all the games, of course, there's a TOSEC for it that Jaco sent us towards. So I think this is one. I mean, I will say the emulator we used was completely in French. Pajaco figured out enough, but Roy, I didn't have to even look at what his notes were. I mean, it wasn't too bad to use.
No, it felt familiar.
Yeah. Guess what? Pajaco also took a look at Helicoptere. He says,
I can believe it.
He says, a nice concept that feels a little Choplifter-like, but in 2.5D. It's a little clunky.
I think that's fair.
But it controls well, and the scaling works nicely, so you get a good enough fake 3D effect. After playing this a little while, I was trying to determine if younger me would have found this fun and exciting, and sadly, I think the answer is no. I don't hate the game, I just found it a little dull.
Yeah.
Things do get a little more frantic in later levels, and really once things start shooting at you, the game becomes more fun. But the enemy fires too fast that if you're in a lot of fire, dodging feels almost impossible, and it seems luck comes into play, of which I'm not a fan of. Also, the game consistently stopping to display your score when you destroyed an enemy becomes a little infuriating, and after a time I almost stopped shooting them just to get through the level. You can also totally cheese it and fly slow enough to take out the enemies with ease. With a limited library for the system, Helicoptere is a good game for the VG5000, but it's a title that really needs a little more action going on. 6 out of 10.
I think that's a very fair review.
Now listen, the Brent, before we close shop on this one.
Yes?
I know you're sort of a fan of this one, aren't you?
I am.
This one and this system can be acquired.
It's the power supply, the European style power supply that's
right. And you and Bo have showed your prowess on dealing with those already with the Super Cassette Vision. I'm going to have a look at see what you did to it. But this one would be fun. And I think with 40 games, I saw some other contenders in there for certain game-wise. So I think we could absolutely put this one back in the wheel sometime in the future and have another go at it.
I agree.
You know, because this would be fun. But again, if you buy one of these, for God's sakes, don't let the Brent or the boat fiddle with it, because then you're going to need to call a proper repair technician to take care of the hideous damage you've done to Brent.
Are you saying, Aaron, that I need to send my things to Retro Rewind?
The very same. And why is that, the Brent?
Because my thingy all done gonna blow up now.
That's right. Brent graduated
Well,
with a...
Brent did not do it, but it did. Regardless, it still went booming.
Brent got his tech degree from the Monkey Academy, okay? So when we opened up the machine, I noticed that there was fruit stuffed in it and a lobster claw. Not good. So when you've got someone that's done sort of a Monkey Academy job on your electronics, there's just one place to go, and that's retrorewind.ca.
Absolutely.
Brent, while I was at Cocoa Fest this past week, I had a chance to have dinner and hang out with Frank and his fine staff, including Scumboy was also there from retrorewind.ca. And while they were at Cocoa Fest, they worked non-stop repairs. Why is that? It's because everyone that has any sort of brain knows that that's where you go to take your stuff. And by the way, the Cocoa aficionados are not dummies. No. They know what they're doing, and they took all their gear to Frank at retrorewind.ca. Now, do you have a Commodore product at your disposal that needs to be recapped or have some work done on it? C64, C128, CDTV, Amigos. Frank covers it all. Plus all the Cocoa stuff. If you need repairs done, Frank's your hookup, and he's conveniently located in the friendly confines of Canada. On top of everything else, Frank will sell you flash solutions for your various machines, diagnostic kits, caps that you can do your own repairs. A whole flurry of items can be found at retrorewind.ca. Brent also went to Monkey Academy Flag Corps. Nice work to Brent.
Thank you.
Get the wheel, you idiot.
Oh, it's wheel time, is it?
See if you can operate that thing, monkey boy.
We have added chat subject choice.
Oh, God. What are you doing there? Another monkey move.
And the Retro Rewind piece this week is the Auric.
Okay, everybody in the chat, if that comes up, this is your time to shine. Hopefully you won't be monkeys. Roll it. And the winner is, thank you, sweet
my
Lord.
gosh, we're going back to Auric Town, Aaron.
Holy smoke, it's Auric time. And we don't mean Auric gun, we mean the Auric. Brent, we've had, what, 1 or 2 cups of coffee with the Auric.
I believe it is a single, Aaron.
Now, this is actually apropos, having played the machine we just played, because the Auric is a very European machine.
Absolutely.
It'll be a lot of fun to give that another whirl.
I've been looking forward to hitting that.
You've thought about buying an Auric a few times, haven't you, back in the day? He's an Auric guy. He loves the Auric. Do you recall any of the games we played on the Auric previously? Is that where we played Doggy and stuff? Was that the Auric?
I believe that is where, in the Auric, where we played the game that you hated tremendously.
Well, you're going to narrow it down. We'll figure it out. Should be a lot of fun. I'm actually looking forward to the Auric next week. That bookends nicely what we just played. Hey, listen, a couple items before we head out the door. Bam, I want to talk about Boat Fest that's coming up June 23rd through the 25th. We just mentioned retrorewind.ca. Hold up the sign again, Brent. retrorewind.ca will be in the house. Hold it up better than that, you knuckle brain. And he'll be doing repairs. He'll have his crack staff with him. Of course, so if you've got any repairs, you're coming to a Boat Fest, bring them. He'll fix them right there on the spot for you. We've also got Rob Flacco Hair will be in the house. And a cast of thousands. Lots of streamers and podcasters will be there. Lots of our good buddies.
There will not be a cast of thousands.
It will. It'll be a cast of maybe like 80.
Several dozen.
But it'll be a lot of fun. And let me tell you something. Rare, obscure machines are going to be in the house. It's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to Boat Fest.
Yes.
Something else I want to mention, the Brent. Please, I don't ever build this, but I don't know if you saw the link I sent you, but Boat designed a very attractive ARG shirt. So if you head over to the Amigos t-shirt, you remember the Amiga Tees web address, the bird on top of your head? He does it. Somebody will link it up there. Go over to the Amigo Tees t-shirt shop, and there's a really sweet looking ARG Presents shirt. We don't get that many shirts. So check it out. It looks nice. Brent, what do you got?
I have our lovely supporters.
Oh man,
I want to thank personally, and this should be the last week we go without a video.
Oh, we will see.
I want to thank Rolo, Mr. B, Terry Howard, Frodo NL, Laurent Garut,
Laurent Giroux,
Kevin Bean, Mitsuyama, Oram, Olaf Hope, David Terrence, Graham W. Ovetke, Andy Jones, Jason Warrens, Jerry D., Dave Velociraptor, Sundown, Templar Mar, Chris Munch, Petzel, Rob Flack O'Hara, Texas Foosballer, Chris Folds, Richard Smith, Pajaco 6502. A double thank to him for helping us with the emulators this week. Super nice of him to take the time to do that. Andy Craig, Z9K9, John Dykeman, Bernhardt Lucas, Steve Rasmussen, Retroalgy, Anthony Jarvis,
Animal on the roof,
and the king, the spirit of the wheel, Bodekar Schaller, whose episode will be coming to you next week.
Oh man! I also want to shout out our good buddy Duncan Styles, who does our graphics, and Bark Bit, who does all the cool music for the show. He's awesome. He's super awesome. Hey, by the way, it's amigatees.com. Thank you, everybody, for posting that in the chat. That's AMIGATEES.com. Get in there, check it out. Listen, I'm wearing one right now. Bam, bring it. I'll play Top Banana. You get it? Because it's so bad. Anyway, that's all we got this week. We'll see you next time for another round of Warwick. And until then, get your VG5000 on, brother. Adios.